Welcome to If I Did It, a show where we analyze and solve PR kerfuffles from MMA world and beyond.
Oh man,
It's a good thing this isn't smell-o-vision.
Backbreakingly early over here.
Hey, my breath's fresh.
So fresh and so clean. I'm Alexi Old. Joining me as always is Kid Native Bloody Elbow and Eugene S. Robinson from Aussie.com and author of Fight Everything Everyone Know About Asking. We're afraid you get your ass kicked for asking, or as Nate almost found out, for waking people up in his house.
right. Come on, man. I live with murderers.
So, Eugene.
Yes, sir.
You're a New York UFC fan.
Yeah, I am a New York UFC fan.
That's true. There we go. You've patiently waited for years to have the Octagon in Madison Square Garden. When the MMA ban was lifted and UFC 205 was announced, you eagerly sat screenside to buy tickets for the inaugural New York show. And were gobsmacked to see ticket prices exponentially exceeding non-NYC UFC venues. You know they're doing what they got to do just to get by. But you're damn sure poor. So tell me why it's too much for too many people.
Oh, you know what? Stalin had it right.
Stalin.
His wife visited the country and she goes, no, Koba. That was her nickname for him. Koba. Listen, people really are starving to death in the Ukraine. He goes, oh, starving to death, huh? Yes, there's famine. He goes, let them eat the food they've hidden. Yeah. No, they haven't hidden any food. Just let them eat the food they've hidden. And otherwise, in other words, you know what is too much? I know some jiu-jitsu schools that will charge $350 a month. You don't like it? Take it on the arches. This is America. You used to be able to get a cup of coffee for a nickel. I used to be big enough to fit in a picnic basket. Things change. I'm sorry to be unsympathetic about this, but the same people complaining will drop oodles and oodles of cash on boxing matches, will drop oodles of cash on baseball games and football games. It's kind of pricey, but this is what the price is. You think that they're charging extra just because they're an NYC. Don't you know what it means to be an NYC? It means that if you're delivering programs to the venue, that the truck driver drops them in the street and you can't carry them from the street into the venue, you have to get somebody else to do that. That's what that means. Everybody's got to get their palm grease. It's called the big city for a reason. I'm sorry. If anybody's going to complain, this person that should complain, maybe some fighters, because it's like, look, I know you didn't give that all to the Teamsters, so you got to spread some wealth this way. But what was holding it up if you think what was holding it up in New York City for a long time was that a couple of congressmen who thought it was still human cockfighting, you're wrong. It was a union issue to begin with, and when you play with the union, you pay for the union. So tough titty, man. Watch it on TV. Go down to Penn Station and to some sports bar. Watch it on TV, and then run out when the fight finishes, and you'll be there with the crowds from Madison Square Garden. It'll feel like you were there.
That's a New York tip from an original
Attitude.
New Yorker. That's right, baby. What do you think, Nate?
Well, we've heard from Cucks for Trump over there and his Putin excusing Syria bombing murderous ways with these. What about the children of Aleppo? They can't afford tickets, Eugene.
What's Aleppo?
Hold on. I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, you got me. You
Sorry, man.
I was. Yeah. Okay. All right.
The thing, this isn't unions they're paying. This is ticket scalpers that are getting in the middle, and the UFC's letting them. And I'm not going to say they're getting kickbacks, but I can't figure any other reason why they're doing this. And
did you hear they interviewed that scalper king on NPR?
I missed it. I missed that.
Yeah, it was good.
I see.
Sorry to interrupt.
Was there anything on Garrison Keillor you want to tell us about?
Well, no, it was great.
What's on in Lake Wobegon?
Well, Terry Gross has got a great interview. Maryland Corrigan, no.
And how was the New York Times crossword puzzle this weekend? You just dive into it. Huh?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead. I'm done interrupting. Go ahead.
All right. So, I don't think there's a defensible PR stratagem they can take for doing what they're doing. It's kind of like Trump and his taxes. you just got to brazen it out, man. I mean, you're just like, well, that's what they cost, and keep the money rolling right in. I mean, they just borrowed multi-billion dollars to pay the Fertittas off and buy this company. They got people to pay back. They got all these celebrity owners they got to pitch in. We'll get to that in a minute. And, you know, just brazen it out. Ride it through. Just say like what Eugene would say. Do you weigh more than Russia? Do you weigh more than Russia? No. Then shut up and pay for your tickets. That's...
If you're a real UFC fan, you'd find the money.
Exactly.
Hold
you
on,
wouldn't be complaining about Dodson versus Lineker.
Hey,
I'm going to run.
No, that's another
running man in honor of that fight, man.
I guess another man watched Knuckle Up. Fuck that fight. Fuck that fight. People who like that fight, you know.
Well, you got one guy who can't be bothered to make weight, one guy who can't be bothered to fight.
Yeah,
and one guy who won't be bothered to watch, or maybe two of us.
Yeah. All right, hold on, though. I mean, why don't you give people frame it? How much are these tickets going for? What is this outrageous price that tickets are going for?
You have tickets that normally would be $80 in a venue, in another venue costing $600 to $800.
Oh, ouch!
Yeah, you can see Hamilton for that.
Ouch!
Yeah, so you're talking about, you see certain ticket prices. As soon as the tickets were available, there were certain ticket packages that were gone, like at the $10,000 level, right? So you see that, like, okay, I guess since they're Conor McGregor is headlining, right? There is an international contingent. But then you see for the regular ticket prices, it's like, they start at $105, but those, no one saw those. Like 100, 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,500. Like, it's no joke, man. I had a friend that was a big UFC fan who, relocated to California, and he was going to say, I've wanted it I've wanted to see it in New York for all this time. He'd see it at, East Rutherford and New Jersey, the Prudential Center, all these places. He's seen it. Like, I finally want to see it there. Then when he found out what the prices are, he's like, fuck it. So much for that plan.
But you know what? This is, I'm going to say what any good capitalist says. Let the marketplace decide. You're upset with that. Do what I'm going to do. Stay home. And then they'll go, hey, maybe we need to adjust downward our expectations for what people will pay for a ticket for the UFC in New York. I mean,
Well, there's only one way to find out, number one. And then number two, there's another dynamic which is problematic for a lot of fans of things, is when something is underground or isn't as mainstream, it's cheaper. Right, unless it's super underground, and then now you have a dynamic where people are realizing that some people, you know what, the MSG show isn't for you. It's not for you. It's not meant for you. It's a quick segue. It's like this person complaining about Tim Burton's movies, like how the only time he has people of color in it, Sam Jackson, I think, was the first one in 20-some years, and like he's evil. Like they're always evil. The pallid, like pale, heroes that they have in the movies. And it's like, at the end of the day, look, those Tim Burton movies aren't for you. And he said so much. He said he got enraged when he watched Brady Bunch as a kid, and they had like an Asian kid on. He's like, fucking PC. Or they had a black kid. So his movies aren't for you. So with the MSG card, if you're not a high roller, it's just not for you. That's just
Hollywood, if you're black, is not for you. when Oliver Stone, of all people, makes the Twin Towers movie, and the hero of the movie, the Marine who just decided to go there and help out, is played by a white Brit, when in actual fact he was a black guy from Queens. Fuck it, man. Hey, I'm gonna buy my ticket now for Where My Bitch Is At, the Tupac Shakur biopic starring Tom Cruise, because Tom Cruise has got that range.
But on the other side, you have, because that story was not told, it creates an opportunity for someone to tell that story. All right, so that's I guess one negative thing, and there's an opportunity to watch UFC.
Try to get funding, Blackie.
Yeah, just do it with your cell phone. We'll just do it with your cell phone. And
no, that's what I'm saying. That's the challenge. That, unfortunately, that's what the creative challenge has always been. If you don't have funding, you got to figure out. That's why Robert Townsend was maxing out on credit card debt back in the day. If you want, it's a true test. How badly do you want to tell this story? And not everyone.
Buy a ticket for the UFC.
What did it say?
How badly do you want a ticket for the UFC?
Exactly.
Dig down deep.
Exactly. Speaking of digging down deep, Nate, your WME-IMG Last Friday, you announced an ownership expansion of the UFC to include 23 celebrities, including, but not limited to, Serena and Venus Williams, Tom Brady, Ben Affleck, and directors Michael Bay and Tyler Perry. What is your PR plan to, quote, elevate this brand and capitalize on its entertainment and sports crossover appeal, end quote?
Well, you're seeing it in action. They're getting some Venus and Serena Williams and some Tyler Perry and all these, you know, I'm about to say Tyler Perry and A-lister at the same breath, but you know what I mean. They're getting this mainstream celebrity mojo that they've got aplenty, and they're going to rub it all over the UFC, and then they're going to start normalizing, you know, back and forth. Hey, look, it's Ben Affleck and so from the UFC, and it's so-and-so from the UFC and one of our Hollywood stars, and just, you know, hey, and now they're in a movie together. Oh, and he's gonna be the ring announcer for a special fight, and, you know, it's just part of the mojo, and it's also cynically makes me wonder if they're not like juking both sides here, that they're like getting money out of their clients somehow to pay for their folly on buying the UFC, and, you know, everybody gets a share, and hey, you know, I know we owe you this much money, but how about some shares in the UFC, kind of something like. So I wonder if there's not some fishing for finagling going on backstage, but I think it's genius. It makes perfect sense. It aligns absolutely with their stated mission, which was to make celebrities out of UFC fighters, and now they're, you know, showing that all these celebrities are UFC fans and investors. So they're normalizing the product even more.
What do you think, Nate? I mean, Eugene.
You use that word finagling, and I think you meant business. Business.
Yes.
I called. Did I not call this shot from way out? I tried to explain to you guys what this meant way out. I go, this was big. You know, like honeycomb. You know, it's got a big taste. It's. I mean, you know, we're cross collateralizing all this shit. Yeah, if you don't think that the guys. And somebody raised a good point. This guy texted me and he said, hey, don't you think it's kind of suspicious that the last 3 UFCs, there's been some extra fight action, like drama in the cage, from Taravidian getting kicked in the chest to Roy Nelson kicking the Big John in the ass to Will Brooks. I mean, there's been this kind of like, look at me. Do you think that this is any way connected to, you know, an internalized or an externalized understanding on the part of the fighters that this is now another game entirely? It's about look at me. It's about Conor McGregor turning to Jeremy Stevens and going, who the fuck is this guy? You know, I mean, you know, I mean, it's not enough to be a fighter. People know Jeremy Stevens as a fighter. It's like, that's not what I'm saying here, Jack. I'm the $5 million man, and I'm here for a reason. You know, I could stop fighting tomorrow, and I'm still here. You know, or like Mike Tyson famously once said, as a callback to where the fight is, he goes, I could sell out Madison Square Garden jerking off. You know, it is now about Q. You know,
Q. $600 a ticket.
Yeah, maybe that's kind of pricey, man. I could see that shit for free hanging around certain neighborhoods. You know? But I mean, you know, you got. I don't know, man. I mean, of course, you do realize that the thing that had me just rolling on the floor with my fist balled up when they said Anthony Kiedis and Flea, I was like, God, you did it. You had to do it, didn't you? You had to. It's like, man, this is my favorite restaurant, man. I love eating here. I'll eat here all the time. And then there's like that guy, and there's that guy at your favorite restaurant. Jesus Christ. Are my only options Bellator, KSW, WSOF? What the fuck, Invicta? What's left for me? You know, where can I hide from this blight called the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Man,
no place.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Under a bridge? Maybe under a bridge.
Under a bridge downtown.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, do you think it's going to expand? You know, so you see the cross promotional activities. So, it's not just going to be limited to so-and-so at cage side. They're going to try to do all these other kinds of events.
Of course,
well.
man. Look, this is. I mean, what I said back in the '90s when I wrote that piece for GQ. I'm going through puberty. They wrote that piece for GQ. Was that this is a combat sport in which white cats are competitive. I mean, this is going to be so when you take somebody like Stipe Miocic, right, and say he's the baddest man on the planet because he's like the heavyweight champion, that holds a lot of weight, man. It's not like Steve Nash playing basketball for the Utah Jazz. Or so, how do you like that? I just pulled that out, you know. That Pasty is playing, and it's like he's like this kind of curious anomaly. It's not fucking boxing where at this point it's like Russian cats and dudes from Mexico that you don't know, you know. I mean, this is a big deal. This is a big deal, and it's been a big deal for a long time. And it, you know, I have to say, yes, I gave a lot of credit to the bald one for getting us to 4.2 billion. But the reality of it is, I think probably it could have been there a lot sooner if you had people who knew that this is where it would be. People with a vision, people who called this back in the 90s, like you, well, like me, yes.
Well, speaking of back in the 90s, Eugene, you're the New England Patriots. After suffering your first home shutout loss in over 20 years to the Buffalo Bills of all teams, their coach Rex Ryan told the Boston Globe's Ben Volin, quote, "My sources inside the New England Patriot building said that Jacoby Brissett would be the QB. How's that? I'll stir some stuff up," end quote. After years of being called cheaters, do you take the Bills to task?
You know what, man? If I'm New England, I just shut the fuck up. Just take it on the chin, man. You guys have won more than God. It's all right. Back up off the ball for a bit, you know. It's like
the deflated ball.
Yeah. The deflated ball. It's like, you know, I hated Elway with a passion, right? Like seriously with a passion. In fact, I used to go by his fraternity and write and Sissy John on the, you know, they had a little chalkboard for house messages, and I would like walk in and like, you know, because I had a friend who lived there, walk in and write Sissy John, and then it would be furiously scratched out, and I'd walk out of the building and go, Sissy John. I said, well, what's Elway going to do? He already threatened to beat up a friend of mine who he couldn't have beaten up anyway. So I had it out for that guy for years. I go, this guy's had everything. Do you know anybody who's had everything he's ever wanted? Ever. Never had something he did not want, you know, always has had things that he wanted. And then he couldn't get the Super Bowl. And every year that Denver fucked up, I was like, there is a God. There is a God. There is a God. And then he won the fucking Super Bowl. And I was like, all right, cool. You know, I guess I could, you know, it's been enough time. The guy should, you know, I don't like not having what I want. Why should somebody else? But then he kept staying, and he kept staying, and it's like, you know what, you did this on purpose to me, you know. So you know, if those guys, if New England really want to impress me, step off the ball, you know.
What do you think, Nate?
I think it's classic glass houses, dude. I mean, their reputation is so terrible between looking at other teams' playbooks, listening into their audio, the whole Deflategate thing. Just shut the fuck up. You have zero credibility in this, and people hate losers, and you're losers right now. So just shut it, zip it. Sunday's another game. Move on, you know. And boy, do I hate the Patriots. And of course, they're called the Patriots, and they're the biggest cheaters ever.
And their owner and star quarterback are UFC owners. So I guess are they the equivalent for the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
I don't hate him that much. No, I don't.
No. Well, I like them because they delivered to me one of my last great street fights. Actually, no, sorry. It was, what is that baseball team they got there? The Red Sox?
Yeah.
The Boston Red Sox, yeah.
But yeah, they delivered to me one of my last great street fights. So I always have it in my heart for that. But New England Patriots can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, I have to concur. I second that emotion.
Well, while on the topic of a different kind
fucking
of
football.
Yourself? Yeah, okay, there we go. And that too. See, I'm telling you, twin brothers from different mothers. So, Nate, you're Sam Allardyce. Fresh from being appointed to your job as the manager of the England national football team, you're busted for giving advice on how to get around Football Association rules on third-party ownership and negotiating a £400,000 deal. You left your job shortly thereafter. But what PR spin can you make to mitigate your bribery and corruption kerfuffle?
again, there's a certain point when you've just tunk to tunk to tunk to tunk. You're bouncing down the stairs, and you just got to curl up and ride it out, and make sure you hit bottom before you open your mouth anymore. Because you don't want to end up just talking shit about how you're turning it around and you've seen the error of your ways. Let all the chips fall. Let the air clear. And then maybe talk to a PR expert about a rebranding campaign way down the road. But for now, zip them.
Or you can start paying someone now to help you plan.
Well, we are
far enough in advance.
So
we're available. I'd also like to extend a little because my news feed is going as we're doing the show. I'd like to extend an open invitation for some PR life advice to the Kim Kardashian. I guess that she was just robbed at gunpoint, $11 million worth of jewelry stolen.
Up.
You don't want to pay. You don't want to pay a security team. Then you're going to pay a security team.
Yeah. Wear costume versions of your fancy shit. Nobody's going to know the difference.
And there's not a single person. I'm going to call my kids to find out if they feel sorry. They're fans of hers for some strange, godforsaken reason to see if they have any sort of sympathy for her. But yeah, I think Nate is right. Nate is right. It's like if you try to fight the fall, you're going to end up breaking something. If you've ever fallen down a flight of stairs and that you just get relaxed, kind of go limp, but not so you throw, ball up, and then you land and then when you're at the bottom, you kind of do, an inventory of, okay, nothing's broken, I'm okay, and you get up, and then you hope that there's nothing else, no more stairs, and then that's it. That's solid advice. I mean, anything you're going to say at this point is not going to help you. In fact, there's a guy who's just written a book, and he'd done a series of videos about what to say if you've been stopped by cops. And then he's like, I'm amending that. And he goes, because there was a case in Texas where the guy claimed the Fifth Amendment, and then he missed one, like he just refused to answer and didn't offer the Fifth Amendment. And they made the claim that because he didn't actually say, I'm taking the Fifth in this case, that he had probably perjured himself. So he said, you know what my advice is now? My advice is now, say nothing outside of, I want to see a lawyer. So if you roll through that stop sign, you get pulled over, it goes, can I see your license? I want to see a lawyer. And then you watch things go from bad to worse really fast.
Exactly. That's when I saw those videos of guys like, this is what you do. You are within your rights. It's one thing I thought was funny that you see, I would see in law school, and also when I first started practicing, is you have individuals, number one, a number of them who teach in law school never really practiced, right? They were just clerking for a judge or maybe worked for a year or two. And they have all this great advice for their students that doesn't work in the real world. And then you see these people go out to practice, their students, and they have all these notions of, let me tell you about my rights. And then, if they survive the ass kicking they receive from lecturing some thug about their rights,
Yeah, well, that's like the time they put me in jail and they said, take your clothes off, and I'm like, the fuck I'm gonna take my clothes off? I just wrote an article about the constitutionality of strip searches, and I realized I'm in a security cell with guys with sticks surrounding me, and they said take your clothes off, and I was like, yeah, I saw Empires of the Sun. I'm taking the clothes off, Jack. Thanks. The coveralls. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'll argue this shit later when I'm in a safer place behind a computer.
So true. Well, speaking of arguing in safety, Eugene, you're the Nanyang Yongkang Medicine Company. According to the BBC, you issued an anti-iPhone policy as part of a foreign products boycott related to the, quote, national humiliation, end quote, of Japanese troops invading northeast China in 1931, meaning the humiliation of being invaded by Japanese troops. Your policy boycott reads, quote, if you break this rule, then just come to the office straight away to hand in your resignation, end quote. Turns out that your plan is backfiring since Apple manufactures its iPhones at Foxconn factories based in China. And a boycott could cost thousands of people their jobs. Is it time to dial back?
Yeah. Yeah, these modern China, if anything, is a living, breathing example of how, I'm going to take, cash over symbolism. These people who get caught up, that's what's so dangerous about nationalists, because they're very rarely national capitalists. This idea that people are dredging up the symbolic shit. You know what? I would turn the Balkans into casinos, because there's nothing that cures that kind of strange thinking than oodles and oodles of cash, which is what they're coming up against. Hey, man. Hey. The dog's been out for 2 hours, and somehow, like, the only place in the house is like on my leg. He's not happy unless he's here farting right here on my leg.
You love
so yeah, so yeah, right. That's love. Really? Yeah, okay. Let me try to do that to the old lady and see if she appreciates the fart on her leg. Yeah, this is love. So you got. So what's more shocking to me is that they somehow let these lunatics, they've made it through the nets and are trying to make some sort of symbolic. I mean, I think this is part of this kind of weird continuing saber rattling that's happening right now on the one level between the U.S. and U.S. and China relations over these fucking bullshit islands that nobody gives a crap about, that goes back to this 1931 stuff, and the kind of flexing with Taiwan and then the Hong Kong. I mean, it's just and people who are playing real politics, and like, while you guys are fucking around, I've got 1,000 people that are now threatened with unemployment. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? How many generations removed is that? Who remembers that stuff? I know one person who is 86. The woman came up to me and goes, "Hey, you got a swastika tattoo?" I go, "Well, it's a big devil, but yeah, I got you." She goes, "Yeah, well, it's very different if you live in a place where planes are flying over with swastikas on them." I go, "Where would you live in?" And then she goes, "My father thought it was a good idea to move to, he thought the war was pretty much over, so he thought it was a good idea to move to England in 1944. As the fucking Nazis are dropping bombs on London. That didn't work out that well. But how many other people remember this stuff? 1931? Are you kidding? Or that woman who I know who's 86, she was one in 1931. You got to stop. Yeah, I mean, but these guys are doing what there's a professor, Dave Owens at Vanderbilt, who had a specialty in leadership studies, and he said, essentially, non-alpha groups are always going to do shit like this because they're trying to gain and secure power. That's it, and so I call it cash, they call it power, whatever, man. I guess the guy's trying to eat, but it's a bad move. It's directly at odds with what it's like standing up at Hamlet and screaming that it's not August Wilson. Bought a ticket to Hamlet, man. That's what it is. That's where you are. So, sorry,
man. What do you
Eugene?
think?
Sorry.
I'm ranting.
He is ranting. This is complicated stuff. I think that the factory screwed up. I don't think they thought this through. And it was iPhone 7s that they singled out. Like, presumably, if you already had your iPhone 6, they didn't care. So it's just this: we don't want you buying any more Apple product. But again, like they pointed out, it's made by Foxconn there in China. Although I was reading one of my, I still get some free national security sort of newsletters. I was reading one of them. They were giving out scenarios for a war, major power war between China and the U.S. And one thing that supposedly China could do is cease iPhone production, because they're manufactured in China, but very little of the profit accrues to China. They get the assembly profit, but the IP profit stays, or goes to Ireland or wherever Apple funnels it through. But if they were to cut off that spigot, it only costs them, a couple bucks an iPhone, but it costs the U.S. hundreds of dollars. Not that the U.S. is getting the tax receipts, but hundreds of dollars for the iPhone. So there is a little bit of leverage there that China has because, ironically, of their lower profit percentage of the pie. And also, look what they're doing in the Philippines, where they got the new Philippine president. Even though the Philippines just won a big case in the international courts that said they were in the right and China was in the wrong, the new president's just basically saying, just a mix-up. Fuck it, China. Y'all go ahead and do what y'all going to do. And we're, and he's cozying up with them and saying rude shit to Obama, to the point that Obama's not even going to come see us. So they're switching It's like that scene in Casino where Sharon Stone tells Robert De Niro that Joe Pesci is now her sponsor, like an old hooker, like she's moving to a new pimp, you know? And so the Philippines are kind of making some gestures towards moving towards China as their international rabbi. So it's complicated shit. I think Eugene's right that this is some sort of expression of nationalism, but it's confused. I also think that the translation, whenever you read something that's translated from Chinese to English, you are not getting anything approaching the real story because there are layers and layers of confusion there. So from what we can tell is happening over there, I think they made a misstep. I think they're right to reel it back in.
And it's wild
and I'd like to say one other word just to throw it out there. Samsung. Oh, what? Huh?
Boom.
Yeah.
See, I thought you were going to piggyback on. I thought you were going to piggyback on the Philippines and the rabbi comment in wake of Duarte comparing the Nazi Germany elimination of Jews to like, oh, there are three. How many Jews were there? How many drug dealers are there? Yeah, so right on the eve of a holiday and Perez's death. I mean, it's stupid.
I expected you were going to bring that up later.
I'm not, so here you go. This is the moment to
curveball. Alexis on the curveball.
Curveball, but hold on. I did get a text. It's a long text, but my favorite line is the last line. You know, it goes, whether it's wanting $800 for upper bowl tickets to a show or asking fans to stay up until 1 a.m. to watch Dodson Lineker, there is a breaking point. They've got McGee now, but they won't have him forever.
It's true. Look how fast they lost Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, Duarte, is this my curveball?
Yeah, you want to do the curveball. See, I was hoping that you would do the curveball on this, but there we go.
We're so lazy with the curveballs. We haven't done curveballs in weeks. You got to throw the curveballs, Alexi.
Okay. Well, see, but the rules of engagement are confusing for me because it's like the Jeopardy thing. I got to frame it as a question, as though I were Duarte. Is that the?
So
deal?
you know, I'll give you. I'll throw a bone to you. I'll say
thank you.
Explain what happened with Duarte and this comment and the context of it. Give a background to the reference that I made.
Well, he's already had like several thousand of his citizens murdered by other citizens on the threadbare kind of conclusion that they are either drug users, drug dealers, or well, that pretty much covers it, right? Drug users or drug dealers. And he's gotten a little international pushback, and his response has been, "We're not your little brown boys. You know, we are a sovereign nation. We'll do what the fuck we want, and we don't." And he's been cozying up to China, which is purely just show, of course, I think, but cozying up to China just to let the U.S. know where they stand. And Obama was like, "Oh, really? All right, fuck you. Sorry. Next stop." And it's like when you can go into a store in the Philippines and buy something with Filipino money, then you can talk tough with me. But until that, they use American dollars in the Philippines. Fuck off with all that shit, dumbass. But I'm sorry, I was supposed to frame it like a question.
And then this recent the Nazi kerfuffle too, and the Nazi kerfuffle.
Oh, the
Nazi thing.
Was it? He said, "Look, Hitler killed how many Jews? How many drug users do I have to deal with?" In essence, he funneled. Not funneled. What's the word? He channeled Hitler when Hitler, in reference to the Armenian, the Turks. Okay, I'm gonna get in trouble. The Turkish massacre of the Armenians.
Alleged word, genocide.
The genocide. He said, "Look, the Turks got away with it. 23 million. It's a statistic. One person is a tragedy. 23 is a statistic, and that's largely where Duarte is. It's like, if I kill 6 million, drug dealers, who's the worst for wear?" And he did make the public comparison to Hitler, and
let me be their Hitler, I believe.
Yeah, let me be the Filipino Hitler and for the drug dealers, and apparently nobody on his PR staff said that's a bad idea. That's to one of the most prolific killers in human history, to make that as a public comparison point. A deeply disturbed anti-Semite and possibly psychotic world leader, to make that connection doesn't serve your interest well. Nobody told him that.
And also in the wake of Shimon Peres passing away, also. So he
Jesus,
says it on
timing.
that, and then you have the holiday of Rosh Hashanah. So today.
Happy
So
New Year, baby.
it's the weirdest. It's so bizarre in terms of all the statements you can make, and the worst kind of statements you can make. It seems so crazy that. Was it planned? Was it pre-planned? Was he going for the maximum shock value, or is he having a harmonic convergence with the most kind of devilish wavelength possible? Like, what's going on with that?
I mean, I keep saying it, that we're having this kind of global leadership crisis. You do realize, like, the world has gone insane, and the catalyst for it, I feel perfectly comfortable saying that the catalyst for it is Trump. Because Trump makes that claim. He's like, yeah, Brexit. That's me. That's people realizing that they have the power, and now they're saying, okay, it's going to be a hard break. It's not going to be a soft break. We're going to invoke Article 50 come March. We're done. We're over. We're out. It's like, man, oh man. Okay. I mean, okay. The world has lost its fucking mind, and that France is coming up for elections, and Merkel is taking it on the chin in Germany for the refugee issue, and
in France, remember the comment that was made was, it said it will be a springtime. It'll be a springtime.
Yeah. Or Hitler
for
in Germany, man. So, but my question is, what happens when Trump loses? And I wouldn't be the first one. I'm sorry, I wouldn't be the first one to ask this question, because what happens all is this heat and energy he's developed, and he's advising people to go out to the streets. He goes, after you voted, go to those other neighborhoods, just to make sure things are working right there. So you're going to get cars going over to minority neighborhoods to make sure, exercising their carry rights, their open carry rights, to make sure that things are working. Okay. Are you kidding? No, he's not. He said it.
What's your take on Duarte?
Well, the thing is, you can get away with the shit he's pulling and the shit he's talking about pulling if you win. He's got neighbors in Indonesia that killed about 1 million people in '65 in the coup there, ethnic cleansing, total atrocities. The documentaries Act of Killing and Look of Silence tell that story pretty well. I highly recommend those movies. But if you're running your mouth this hard, this early in your reign, and it's already coming out, he was probably involved in murders, maybe even directly when he was the mayor of a city. The people in the Philippines, he's more popular than ever. I mean, people are loving this stuff. People always love this stuff. You create an enemy. I mean, this is human psychology 101, create an us versus them situation. People will flock to your banner. They'll turn on the thems. You have these pogroms like they're running here. The thing is, though, when you're running your mouth this fast, this early in your run, it makes you wonder if he's not going to fuck up bad enough and be the next Ferdinand Marcos. And the scaffold is at the end of that road, Jack. So, watch what you're doing, buddy, because if you fuck up, you're going to pay the price. We'll see. It's and like Eugene's saying, though, I don't think this stuff starts with Trump. Trump is just a symptom. And you've had these networks, the Fox News Network, Drudge, Breitbart, that have been putting out so much disinformation for so long that people don't know what to believe. And then, you're associated with Alex Jones, who's been putting out just flagrant disinformation for a long time and just gets people so twisted up in the head. They don't want to vaccinate their kids, and they're worried about one world government and all this other bullshit. So it is going to be very hard to reel that back in after the election if Clinton wins. And also her decision and her campaign's decision to try to isolate Trump and talk about Paul Ryan as if he's some sort of reasonable alternative, rather than saying this is a symptom of this Rush Limbaugh bullshit machine that's been spewing for decades. They're trying to isolate Trump because they had visions that they were going to win in some kind of landslide. It's clear that's not going to happen, but they're still rolling out GOP endorsements, and they're doing the opposite of creating an us versus them situation. They're trying to create an us versus us situation, and that's just fucked. So I think the American people are fucked either way, no matter who wins. It's going to be more unrest, more dislocation, and shit's going to be ugly for a while.
Well, that brings us to our teachable moment. Nate, you're Donald Trump. According to the New York Times, you declared a loss so large, so huge, on your 1995 tax return, it, quote, could have allowed you to legally avoid paying any federal income taxes for up to 18 years, end quote. How can you spin this huge PR problem, if it is one?
It is one, and what he's doing is sticking with the "I'm so smart I don't pay any taxes" thing. But the harder thing to cover up is, I'm so smart I lost $1 billion in a year. Like, that is the antithesis of the image he's created, which is win, 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 baby. And that is a colossal fuck up. Losing $965 million in 1 year, that is epic fail. I mean, that makes Charlie Sheen losing his show look like nothing. I mean, this is epic fail. And it's going to be very hard for him to come back from this. It also appears that his ex, Marla Maples, is the one leaking the tax returns to the media, which means somebody who knows a lot of his secrets is spilling their guts. So I don't know how Trump spins this shit. I think he sticks with what he's saying, which is, I'm so smart, I'm gaming the system. But it's going to be hard to recover from the "I'm so smart I lost nearly $1 billion in a year" thing. Also, there's a question of, if you're going to claim that you don't have to pay taxes because of that huge loss for so long, you have to claim that that money has either not been paid back. You can't just have that debt disappear. If you declare bankruptcy and that debt goes away and you didn't pay it back, then you don't get the tax break. So he's either committed tax evasion or he's not paid that money back, which means, did somebody buy that debt and then just park it and say, "Hey, Donald, you can owe me that money, but you don't have to pay me. We'll just, and you can claim it on your taxes and we'll just have some kind of cozy relationship." And that gets into a real gray area of whether that's legal or not. So I think this is just the beginning of his legal troubles with this shit.
What's your take, Eugene?
The timing of which is really pretty perfect. If you do it within 2 weeks of the election, I think any shit that happens within the quality of the bombshell, it has to be really incredibly huge 2 weeks for an election before people dismiss it out of hand as like, oh, this is October surprise. It's you're just trying to upend the election. We got to disregard it. I've seen it happen before. Things that had happened, if they had happened 3 months earlier, would have been enough. But within 2 weeks, people are like, well, whatever. Forget. Come on, we'll move ahead. But no, he had a terrible week. Terrible week for reasons that were fucking painfully. This is like Greek tragedy type stuff, where or like Dante's Inferno, where the methodology is post life. You do what you did in life. So the gluttons were the people who were selfish in life. I mean, he is doomed. He is doomed by being who he is. There have been great benefits to being who he is. He beat 16 or 17 other people to get to where he is at this point in time. But these are really significant character flaws that are just not going to fucking stop. He's got members of his staff jumping ship. They're like PR members of his staff jumping ship, like, I can't fucking help. He has the guy who prosecuted and persecuted Hillary and Bill for Whitewater, lining up behind Hillary, Chertoff. I mean, you have aligned, and he's my people, my base. Those numbers, those are increasingly lunatics. And I have a friend who's a Trump guy, and he's like, I hate this idea that I'm stupid because I'm voting for Trump. But now it's not stupid. Now it's just crazy, right? Because I said to him, best, it's like, look, you're saying the mainstream media is lying to me. Okay, mainstream, you're missing the number one most significant lie being told this political season, and that's everything that comes out of Trump's mouth. Because you know what really is the case? There's no wall. There's no fucking wall. There's no cutting corporate taxes. He's not going to do any of that shit, and he knows he's not going to do it. The only person that's being fooled is a hardcore Trump voter who's going to, if he were elected president, going to be like, fuck, what happened to the wall, man? You promised us a wall. Yeah, and I promised you a rose garden, too. This is reality, buddy. Take it on the arches. I mean,
but don't you think, though? But don't you think that for his hardcores, right? So you're dealing with people that are disenfranchised from the political system anyway, with all of these Republican mainstays dissing him and dismissing him, that makes him.
He doesn't have his collar.
That gives him more. That gives him more power and legitimacy amongst those people. The fact that he is not paying taxes to a corrupt system is playing into a certain constituency. The fact that, look, I had debt, I lost money, but hey, I'm still big. That's plays into the fantasy of the, hey, I'm a loser, but hey, I can turn around like Trump did too. So don't you think these kind of things that both you guys are talking about actually play into his core constituency and is going to make them even harder core supporters of him, as opposed to like, oh my gosh, he didn't pay his taxes. Oh my gosh, he's not the guy he said he was. Oh, don't you think they're going to be empowered by this kind of dynamic?
Not paying taxes, maybe. Losing $1 billion in a year, no. I mean, his brand is being a smart businessman. That is not smart business. There's no two ways around that.
And fundamentally, we like people who are like us, but we don't want people who are too much like us. I mean, I could lose that kind of money. Yeah, you know.
Somebody have to give it to you first.
Yeah, well, which is not going to happen. And that goes back to trying to get funding, Blackie. There you go.
See, it's so funny you talk about the Blackie thing. This is why I think, though, that there's a little. I think that he's going to keep this core, because it goes to what you see in certain neighborhoods with regard to the preachers that have the Cadillacs. Right, and the fact of the matter is, like, taking money from the church and living large, and instead of individuals saying, oh, wait a second, like, what is this guy doing? He's living off of my house. No, the guy's smart. Oh, I want to live like him. Oh, he lives so large. I can totally see his core being the white equivalent of that kind of follower.
Yeah, maybe, but at some point, and I thought Hillary hit this wonderfully in the debate, at some point these guys are going to realize that he's not Joe Sixpack, that in actual fact he's Richie Rich. You know, that he's never had a moment in his life, like Elway, never had a moment in his life where he really didn't get what that he has no idea, and they keep hammering at this gently now at first, but more insistently about the numbers of workmen that have been stiffed. Some guy, so they were talking to some journalist. He goes, hey, you know what? I don't want to inject myself in the story, but my father's an architect, and Trump screwed him over. Trump actively owes him money now and said, you want your money, sue me for it. So I think at the point where he's our guy, wait a minute, how many white folks has he fucked over?
But George Bush, not W, but his father, H.W., was wearing cowboy boots, and everyone knew he was from Milton, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So you're talking about. What I'm saying is, I'm not seeing. And another thing to keep in mind is, I was talking to my father-in-law a while back about these kind of dynamics. Like, how can you have? And he was a token white man I was talking to. Like, how can you have all these people that are supporting Trump and supporting Romney and supporting all of these individuals, these Richie Riches, that are totally, the optics are totally off from what their day-to-day reality is. He said, at the end of the day, people hate themselves, and they do not want to identify publicly with individuals who are like them. They don't want someone in a trailer park or someone who's broke as hell. They want to say, no, Romney, oh no, Trump, oh, a rich guy, like, that's me, that is me, that's what I want. I'm not like, I don't need these handouts, I don't need all this stuff that you think no, I'm not poor, I have a vision. I'm cash challenged. So he was talking about this whole dynamic of he's an economist, but like this whole dynamic of appealing to individuals what they want to be as opposed to who they are, which goes back into the black church dynamic too, with the big, the preacher, in the sense that this is a person, or even the drug dealer, like situations where people identifying with drug dealers living large when their community is getting torn apart by it. This whole dynamic of, I want to identify myself with an individual who's living large, as opposed to being reminded of how much a loser I am. So,
well, you're underscoring a very significant issue, which is the depths of cynicism here, and it's about the intelligence of the American voting public. I mean, you're not gonna. Shit, man, we voted in it Nixon, I mean, W twice. I mean,
both of those guys left office in disgrace, though, and wouldn't have got reelected a third time. And that's the thing. I think Trump is learning the difference between what works if you want to have a popular media property and what works if you want to have a majority of the population voting for you. And it's if you're associated with losers and you're associated with crazy losers, it's very hard to get a critical mass. You know, it's like Abe said, you can fool some of the people all the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. So he's got the people you can fool all the time locked down.
You can fool some of the people where you stitch 9 and save time. And
won't get fooled again.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Well, that brings us to Eugene's Lost Battalion Phantom Toll Booth.
Yeah,
Eugene.
Yeah.
Any new additions?
How about everybody on this fucking card? How about everybody? So, Nate, didn't you pick Smoker? Didn't you think Smoker would do something? Yeah, Smoker got smoked. Fuck everybody on this card, man. It was. I mean, were there any feel-good stories on the card? Dude,
the guy that beat Smoker. That was a feel-good story. That was actually really funny.
I guess. On blah, 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 showing up dressed as the Hulk. That was kind of nice. But that was at the that was at the weigh-in, and that was significant. But I mean, am I alone? Am I alone in this? I gotta watch the entire fight like this.
Till 1 in the morning.
I mean, yeah. Well, I watch. Yeah, I don't watch it.
You're on West.
Yeah. But I mean,
well, I think there are two things. I mean, I felt that way. I mean, one thing with the Will Brooks fight, which is why it was fast forward worthy for me, is like this whole, holding up and mugging against the cage, and I'm going to switch positions, mugging against the cage. Like, I don't want to see that shit anymore. I'm tired of it. And then also the running.
Yep.
It just makes you harken back to the good old Pride days and makes you wonder if you want mainstream visibility and you want to have more casual fans watching, you got to get rid of that shit because nobody's going to.
Well, I mean, how do you stop it?
Yellow cards.
Yeah. Failure
you start
to
run,
engage.
you stop and say, sorry, engage.
Yeah. Dock some points.
You're running too much. It's too much. Stop the running.
Yeah.
You're holding the fence.
I mean,
2 minutes of holding the fence. Like, come on, man. I don't want to see that.
And somebody was like, so in the comment was saying, yeah, isn't this a Jackson Wink trademark? Isn't that like what they do?
Yeah, it is. It's bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, you could say, well, you haven't come up with a strategy, so it's a good fight technique, really.
But that's like back in the day, though. Remember this? You talk about the old days when people used to lay on their back waiting to get engaged on the ground, and the ref stands them up. It's like, stand up. What do you say?
Shamrock Severn 2, the slap fight in Detroit was.
Yep. Or who's that guy that the UFC canned? Was that Starnes who did that shit?
Caleb Starnes. Yep.
It was just crazy. And people were like, no. David Loazo at one point did it as well, and he got also shit canned for it. It's like nobody wants to leave the fight feeling this way. Nobody. No. It's a fight, right? It is a fight. Is that what we? So that's one of those moments where conflict resolution has broken down. The only recourse is that we go mano a mano. But if one guy's running away, he's pulling from a different political playbook. I don't know. We run away to live and fight another day.
Right. It's not like boxing where you have 10 to 12 rounds. Like I remember watching Oscar De La Hoya back in the day, and the whole knock against him was he wasn't a traditional Mexican fighter. Like he'd be doing running and sticking and jabbing, all that kind of crap. And then I remember when he fought Pernell Whitaker, you see the same thing. And when you see them fight one another, it's like, okay, oh. Yeah, and so at a certain point, it's one thing to have 10 to 12 rounds where someone could get tired or make a mental mistake, but to say, okay, you have 3 to 5 rounds to stick to this game plan. And especially if it's a 3-rounder. I mean, the fight was a 5-rounder, but where you do a little bit of engagement now and then and pitter patter, then we got the fight and just keep on running.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind Dodson was my pick. He was my pick, but fuck that guy. That guy, where that guy is now? That guy is in the mist. That guy is in the mist. He didn't say anything post facto that makes he in my mind dark starred. How about that? That's like the most severe sanction I can slap on
Which
a guy.
is for those new viewers, what's a dark star?
Surfing into space.
Deep. Where is he going? Deep space. I mean, you gonna book him again? Do you want to see him fight again? Does he have any cachet? Does anybody like him? Does he have a fan base? You know, he was a smiling guy. You know, the guy who maybe got a raw deal against Demetrius. Maybe should get a better chance. I mean,
knocked out TJ Dillashaw in seconds.
Yeah. But you know what? That's it, man. You can't. That's not enough. That's not enough. You stunk up the entire joint. This was the main event. The main event. You know, and then Oliveira also my pick. You know. How many pounds overweight? What? You know, if you go to fucking the IBJJF Worlds, you're not. There's no variance. It's not like you can get on the scale and say 1 pound, man. They'll give you some time to try to lose that weight, but otherwise you're out. We keep your money. You go home. Go home. You know. That's it. They have to stop it. Like I suggested on Knuckle Up, have like they do with Broadway plays, understudies, you know, and those guys get a certain amount of money for being in fight shape, just in case they have to be called up. But you can't have these guys are doing this shit with 20% of my purse. Fuck it, big deal. All right.
You think about it again, like Will Brooks, like, oh, this is my daughter's college money. Like, you think how much more college money in theory he would have had if he didn't accept the fight.
If he doesn't have the fucking L on his I mean that. Fuck, man, come on. And in my mind, he was on his way to winning that fight as well. So you know, I mean, the guy Oliveira had no answer to the Francis Carmont-esque takedowns and some other ring, and and you know he got mount and top position on him and held him, you know, whatever. It had it been Big John in there or Murriata, he would have, you know, I don't think the fight would have been stopped necessarily, but I don't know.
I will say one thing that you mentioned with regard to the Dodson-Lineker thing is, for Lineker, the fact that he distanced himself from what was going on by making fun of it during the fight, like on at least two occasions. That I mean,
Lineker who missed weight again.
He did. Yes, he did. No, that's true. That's true. But what happens is you're angry with him missing weight. But I'll tell you what, if he missed weight and had an exciting fight, then we can discuss. Oh well, you know, he missed weight, so should he, you know, overcome Garbrandt, you know, in terms of getting that shot at Dominic Cruz, right? But because John Dodson played the running man, was running away and doing that Jackson Wink thing, totally forgot about it during the fight. And when he was protesting, when he was making fun of it, I was like, "That's right!" And you hear the crowd. That was so wild in terms of getting a sense of energy and where people were when he did that. The first time did it, there was a roar in the crowd of like, yeah, you know, all of those sins of weight cutting were forgiven at that point. And so I think
like I've said to people who I've almost gotten into fist fights with, I can see you. You know, at some point we need to all turn to John Dodson and say, we can see you. We are booing you because we're seeing you. We're seeing you choosing not to engage. Pity Patty Pit, run. Pity Patty Pit, run. All right, man. You know what? Why don't you go back to fucking New Mexico with that? You know, please. So yeah. So Dodson out. You know, I mean, Oliveira had a pretty quick climb from don't care to care. But at this point now, next time, let me know when he loses the weight or bump that guy up. I don't want to see this fucking 5. Are you kidding me? 5 pounds? What are you, a teenage girl? 5 pounds, you know. So stop it. And then what were the other cares on the Nate picked Smoker. There, I was happy about Nate Marquardt. You also picked his opponent foolishly. But no, Marquardt's in a strange position now where he's in a position to it was close and had it yanked away, but it was yanked away in such an aggressive fashion. He almost saw it all go away. All of it go away. So now he is a perfect UFC fighter from the bald one's perspective. What is that line from that Madness song? I suggest you take what's given you, even if it doesn't agree with you. And he's that guy. Yes. Hey, Nate. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Doesn't I hate more than yes, man? Isn't that right, Dave? Yes, sir. You know, Marquardt is a perfect UFC fighter from the Baldwin's perspective. Because he almost lost it all. He did it, and he's been winning, and but he's in a weird fucking position because who the fuck wants to fight him? He's a tough guy to fight, and if you lose, where's Tamden McCrory now? McCrory, where is he now? You know, looking to wear a new shillelagh. What the fuck? What happens now? Where does his road turn? I mean, this dire fight had dire consequences for people who fought in this dire fight, and moreover, it put me in a position where the UFC's got a hole to dig out of. I don't want to see this shit again, man. What's coming up this next weekend? Is it something I'm going to have to duck? Because at this point now, I'm ducking the UFC. You know, the UFC has become to me like a girlfriend that like I'm trying to avoid. You know.
Yep.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us. Follow us on Twitter at Eugene S. Robinson, a kid naked at Alexi Old. Please give us a thumbs up, Eugene.
I'm gonna do.
I'm amazed. But I'm amazed that you still have the finger strength to do that in the wake of. I'm sure you're doing that the entire UFC card.
Yes, and I injured this one training, so you know. But I want to do a whole. I'm gonna do. Speaking of Hamlet, I'm gonna do a whole Hamlet with these. Yeah. Oh, but what a rogue and peasant slave am I? And then I saw the ghost of my father, and I'm gonna do a whole.
That's
how do you not get money for that? Like that's a Hollywood picture. Millions. Somebody should be giving you millions of dollars to do
well,
the
if they have puppetry of the penis, they can have puppetry of the middle finger, and it brings you back, and it'll be nostalgic. Where is tall man? Here I am.
You see, it sounded crazy until Alexi mentioned puppetry of the penis, and you're like, oh my God, he's right. I could do a whole play with exactly.
Leave comments on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube, MMA Nation, iTunes. Visit Bloody Elbow. Read Eugene at Ozzy.com. And be sure to check out all three of us on Amazon.com. Spread the word. Tell a friend. Get the nominations into Fighters Only magazine. We'll be back next week.
Right.
We'll be back next week with another installment, If I Did It. And we don't know what we're going to be discussing because the PR kerfuffles have yet to be made.